Okay, so we have the topic of trigonometry, and in year 9 you do right angle trig. So in other words, trig only with right angle triangles. And when you get to year 10, you start working with non-right angle triangles. So let's have a look at the most basic things that you learn in trig. There's always an angle, and the angle is very important because the angle is what tells you, it's your reference point. It's what tells you how to name all the other sides. For example, in this question, you can see if our angle is here, that the side facing this angle, okay, which is over there, it's the x, that's what we call the opposite side. So the x is the opposite side, okay? And the side that's next to the angle, so here's the angle, and you can see that this is right near the angle. If you look at the two green highlighted things that I've marked out, you've got the angle here and you've got this right next to the angle. That's always called the adjacent side, okay? And of course, you know from Pythagoras' theorem that the side that's facing the right angle is always your hypotenuse. Okay, so in this question, Z is your hypotenuse. All right, so the key thing is the angle. The angle tells you which side is opposite, which side is adjacent, and you know the hypotenuse from Pythagoras' theorem. So in the question 1b, here's our angle. Because this Z is facing the angle, that's called the opposite side, and because the Y is next to the angle, that's called our adjacent side, and of course this here is called the hypotenuse. Moving along now, the rest of this page is more or less on the exact same thing, and one of the things that you need to know, and if you've always wondered on your calculator what those buttons are, you know, the sin, cos, tan, we know for a fact three things. One, we know that sine of any angle is always equal to the opposite side over the hypotenuse. We know that cos of any angle is always equal to the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. And we know tan of any angle is always equal to the opposite side over the adjacent side. Okay? You must remember those off by heart to do the rest of this chapter. So I'm going to make that a little bit smaller now. And we're just going to come over here and have a look. In question 1, it says complete the following by writing the correct ratio. So which one is opposite over hypotenuse? It's this one over here, which is sine. So you're going to write here sine. Sine the angle. B, which one is adjacent over hypotenuse? Well, you're going to write cos. And which one is opposite over adjacent? You're going to write tan. Now, by the way, you can never write sine without attaching the angle. So sine on its own, or sin as some people call it, it's always got to have an angle attached to it, because only sine, the angle, is equal to opposite over hypotenuse, not just sine on its own. It makes no sense. Let's have a look at question 2 now on this page, and you will see exactly what we're talking about. What we're going to do here, you've got three sides. You've got a 9, you've got a 41, and you've got a 40. Now, the only side we know for a fact, regardless of where the angle is, we know that facing the right angle is always the hypotenuse. So we can label this as the hypotenuse no matter what the question. Now, the other two sides, this here or this here, which one is opposite and which one is adjacent? Well, it depends on the angle that you're referring to. Now, in this question, you can see clearly, the question says, for each triangle, write the value of sine A. So you can see sine A, in other words, the angle that they want us to use here is angle A. So where's angle A on our triangle? Well, this is angle A over here. So we're going to mark the angle just there. That's angle A. Now, if I mark the angle there, you can see that facing the angle is 40. So this is going to be called the opposite side. And if the angle is here, right next to the angle, this is called adjacent. Okay, this is called adjacent. So now, you know that sine of any angle is always equal to opposite over hypotenuse. So sine of angle A is opposite over hypotenuse. Which one is opposite? We already said it's the 40. And which one is the hypotenuse? We already said it was the 41. And that's your answer. Let's have a look at question 3a now. Again, we're given a triangle like this. We can call this the hypotenuse because it's facing the right angle. And to know whether these are adjacent or hypotenuse depends on the angle. Now, if you look at the question, they said cos A. So they're talking about angle A. And angle A is over here. So there's the angle that we're talking about. Now, because we're talking about angle A, the 3 is facing it, that's opposite. So you're going to call that O. And because we're talking about angle A, this is adjacent. So we're going to call that A. Now, cos, well, cos of any angle is adjacent over hypotenuse. So cos A is equal to 4 over 5. And you're finished. Alright guys, that's the real sort of basic rules that you need to know. If you want us to do maybe a couple more questions just to make sure that you've really got it knuckled down. But as you guys know, any video is not enough to be good. You've got to sit down and go through all the questions. All I'm trying to do here is, if you're doing the topic for the first time, give you enough foundation to get started. And if you're doing it for the second or third time, this is just some revision for you. If you have a look at, in this question, they want us to find tan A. Okay, so again, the A is the key because that's the angle that they're referring to. There's angle A, so this is going to be the opposite side, and this is going to be the adjacent side, and this is our hypotenuse. Now, tan of any angle is opposite over adjacent, so tan angle A is 1 over 3. And you're finished. Let's go to question 5 now. If you have a look at question 5, you've got a triangle. You've got 3 sides. Okay. You of course, the 37 is your hypotenuse. Now, is this opposite or adjacent? Is this opposite or adjacent? It depends on the angle. If we're referring to angle P, then that's opposite and this is adjacent. If we're referring to angle Q, then that's opposite and that's adjacent. It depends on the angle. So if you look at question 5a, the question says sine P. So they're referring to this. Now if they're referring to this, as we said before, that's opposite and this is adjacent. And sine of any angle is opposite over hypotenuse. So sine P is going to be 12 over 37. Okay, now in question 5b, they're referring to angle Q. So angle Q is over here. Now because they're referring to this angle, this is now opposite and this is now adjacent. Cos of any angle is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. So cos Q is equal to 12 over 37 because that's adjacent and that's the hypotenuse. Next one, the question is asking for tan Q. Okay, because this is the angle they're referring to, tan of that angle is opposite over adjacent, and of course this is opposite and this is adjacent, so it's going to be 35 over 12. Alright guys, that's section 1, the real fundamentals. I'll follow up with another video on what to do from here. Thank you.